Hi guys, Annabelle here from Horizon Cosplay, and today we're going to start finishing a cosplay that I started in January of 2020. It's a project that many of you have probably unknowingly seen in the background of many of my YouTube videos, considering it takes up an entire cube of my storage. So let's unpack it and have a look at what is already done and what still needs to be finished. Here we go! So, leaving all of this stuff for a moment, let's just have a look at the bodysuit, and gotta be honest, there's a few things here that I'm really not too happy about, but we'll cover that in a second. So first things first, this cosplay is supposed to be the Hannah Alexander design of Poison Ivy, one of my most favourite designs that she has ever made. So what we have got done is the entire bodysuit is finished, bar sewing up the crotch, simply because if the crotch is sewn I can't actually take it on and off my dressmaker's dummy. We have all this gold, which has been either hand or machine stitched on. All the pieces are good. The bra is actually padded with an underwire in as well, so that's all cool. The front of it, to be honest, other than having a little bit of cat hair and obviously being rather creased, is actually really good. And then we get to the back. When we moved from New Zealand to the UK, this was the project I was working on. However, it's a project that had actually been sitting in my cupboard for an awful long time. And one thing I started to do was notice that the grommets were getting some discoloration on them. So to hide this, I started going over each of the grommets with gold embroidery, something that I only managed to half finish apparently before putting it into storage. And shit, I don't know how to say that. It is shit. The side that has not been done, they've discoloured, they've gone rusty, the rust has gone onto the fabric at the back here. I'm actually quite upset about this. I did think that the grommets might still need doing, like look, you can see it's stained the ribbon. I'm not sure if I can get that off now. The good news is that it's obviously on the back of the cosplay, so not something people are going to be able to see. I do need to try and get that off though. I really need to try and get that rust sorted before I sew over those ones. The good news is that the ones that have had embroidery over them, some of them have clearly also gone rusty, and I'm not too sure why. Maybe it was the travelling from country to country, but at least the gold thread more or less hides it, shall we say. This actually makes me really concerned for like every other corset I've made using these grommets, because hopefully this won't happen. So we have rust marks on the fabric, we have the grommets which are awful, but I mean the actual bodysuit itself is quite nice. Not sure what to do about that rust. Alright, anyway. Let's take the bodysuit off, I'll figure out the rest in a minute, and let's see what else we have to do.
I did film a whole nother section of the video here, but none of it ended up being actually relevant to the video that I ended up making, so we're just going to skip over it and go right to the end.
Let's see how we go. But first things first, what to do about the rust. Oh my god. The rust. Why is there rust?
And just as an FYI, these grommets did used to be gold. The first task at hand was to research how to remove the rust from the costume. I quickly discovered that likely the only reason they had rusted was because I had simply used cheap grommets made out of a plated rather than pure metal. Good thing I've currently run out of grommets at the moment, and in the future I'll make sure to buy a different type. I started by getting some undiluted white vinegar and an old toothbrush to scrub the metal grommets with. I dry brushed over them first to remove any loose rust, and then persisted with scrubbing them using a generous amount of white vinegar until all of them were as clean as I could get them. Honestly, this took absolutely forever, but the results were good enough to justify the 3 hours I spent cleaning my cosplay with a toothbrush. Yep. 3 whole hours. Then we were on to the fabric stains. For this, I squeezed a fresh lemon, got my dishwashing liquid and some salt, as well as reusing the now washed toothbrush. It's important to wash the toothbrush in between the cleanings, as it will likely be covered in the rust from the first cleaning that we did, and you don't want to be spreading that colour around the fabric. Firstly, I mixed the salt and the dishwashing liquid to create a paste before adding half the lemon juice to create a thick liquid. Make sure to save the rest of this juice as it will come in handy later. Dry brush over the stains to remove any loose rust before applying the thick liquid you made. Scrub until it is well set into the fabric before adding the leftover lemon juice over the top and continue scrubbing. I was literally squeezing my lemon juice straight from the lemon, save getting another container out, which did make things slightly easier, but did mean I had to deal with pips and a few bits of lemon on my costume. Such is life. Anyway, once I was satisfied, I left the fabric overnight to allow for a chemical reaction to take place. When I came back in the morning, I was expecting that the rust should have been very faded, if not completely gone. However, if anything, it looked even worse, that this black goo did easily rub off on my fingers. So I grabbed some extra dishwashing liquid and worked it into the fabric with my toothbrush again, along with all over the grommet. To be honest, this bit felt a lot like brushing my teeth and was actually quite a good laugh. That all being done, I put the whole costume into my washing machine, putting it on a cool and delicate wash so that the smell of the vinegar would go away and the stiffened fabric from my salt, lemon juice and dishwashing liquid potion would go back to normal. I was very worried about doing this, but also wanted a more thorough wash than I believed hand scrubbing would achieve. And this is the result. The gold ribbon I used was kind of plasticky, and putting it through the wash definitely made it fade a little. However, I didn't think it was too noticeable. And most of the grommets, though not all of them, are completely clear. Well, they're at least a hell of a lot better than they were. The stains on the fabric, however, doesn't seem to have done much more than fade little. So let's look on the positive side and say that at least all the stains are on the back and should easily be able to be hidden. So the next thing I decided to do was finish off those damn grommets. Matching the gold thread to my collection wasn't hard, and soon enough I started hand stitching them so that even if the rust should come back, at least we wouldn't be able to see it, or it wouldn't leave a mark this time. Also, don't judge, but a lot of this sewing did indeed take place in bed while binge watching YouTube on my laptop. It's simply the comfiest and, more importantly, the warmest place to be when the weather is bad. Plus, who doesn't want to be both productive and cozy at the same time? Hand stitching those grommets took about a week in total. Each one took me about an hour to do, and with 17 to do, that's 17 hours of work just on the back alone. And that's not including the ones I've already done. But looking at the finished results, I felt it was worth it. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments down below. Is it worth the 17 hours of work I put into it? After that, the next thing on the list was inserting a modesty panel onto the main bodysuit. Luckily, I had some leftover medium green fabric, and so I measured the gap in the back before drawing a pattern piece, giving the fabric an iron and cutting it out. A quick stitch on the machine left us with a nice and neat kind of rectangle, kind of triangle shape, and honestly, I forgot how nice this fabric was, and working with it even for just 5 minutes was such an absolute pleasure. I then pinned the piece onto the back before hand stitching it onto one side of the bodysuit lining so that the stitches would not show through onto the right side of the costume. Of course, while hand stitching, Lily Cat just had to interrupt because she needed cuddles, and after a lot of very productive time petting her rather than working on the suit, I got going again and finished the hand stitching. Also, just a side note, if any of you can spot that the green thread I'm using does not match the green in the costume, trust me, I know, I was just trying to use up the last bits on a reel that I had nearly finished. Anyway, then it was time for a try on, which of course was a massive fuss as there was no one in the house to help me thread my back pink ribbon through the 34 grommets I needed to put it through in order to do it up. Not to mention then pulling the ribbon tight so that everything stayed in place. Overall, I managed to get the ribbon into 32 out of the 34 grommets and get it reasonably tight but not perfect before looking in the mirror. And it was at this point I had a minor mental breakdown because honestly, I just didn't know what to think. Many of you have heard me complain about the Yaya hand bodysuit pattern before, and even though it didn't fit me well, I was happy with it at the time that I made this bodysuit. However, putting it on now made me realise that the changes I made a year ago makes it arguably fit me even worse. I put the costume on and wasn't sure it was something I would want to walk around in a convention in, and that really upset me because quite clearly I've put a lot of time and effort into this.
Honestly, I am not sure that finishing this costume is the right thing to do right this second. Honestly, the main thing I want to do with this outfit right now is just throw this away and totally remake the whole thing, and the main thing that's stopping me from doing that is that I don't have any more of this nice gold ribbon left, and I really love this gold ribbon. I bought it specifically for this project because I thought it looked like little vines and really, really nice, and the fact that I don't have any left, well, normal gold ribbon is just so plain and boring, but you know what, we'll have a look on the internet. I'll see if I can find some more of it, but I don't know what to do. I feel like this is a complete and utter failure, quite honestly. So for now, I think I'm going to take Ben's advice on this situation and actually put this costume back down, leave it to one side, and have a very good and long think about it. Unfortunately, that's the best I can come up with right now. Don't get me wrong, it's not what I want to do. In fact, I absolutely hate doing it. I would rather finish something that's not perfect than not finish something because it's not perfect. It feels like I failed, and that's not a feeling that I like, nor want, nor often experience, if we're being totally honest. However, if putting it to one side means that I have that space I need to think, either just accepting how this bodysuit looks and feels when it's on me, or coming up with some kind of solution, or sourcing gold ribbon and just remaking the entire thing, after how many hours of hand sewing and getting out the rust from those damn grommets, then I suppose it's a small price to pay. My main issue, other than the fit, has to be the original boning that I used in this corset. It was made out of lots of tiny little bits of plastic all woven together, and it seems that inside the boning channels they have kind of come apart, and they're currently stabbing me in several places because they keep poking through the cotton. So my most annoying one is right there on my bum. I've got another one just at the top of the lacing. I had one that was just on top of my boob, which I actually trimmed down because that was not happening, was not doing that. And it makes it incredibly uncomfortable to wear, it's annoying, it's poking holes in a costume when there shouldn't be holes. It's currently ruining my tights. You know, I don't have many tights, so that's not good. There's also the fact that in this costume my boobs have zero support. Nothing. Like, yeah, zero. When I was making this bodysuit originally, I actually sewed padded push-up bra cups into the bodysuit to help with the fit. I've mentioned a couple times now that the Yaya Ham pattern that I used for both this and my mirror cosplay was less than ideal for me. And right this second, the main thing is that I regret using it. Like, I wish I'd just made my own because it would have definitely come out better than this. And sewing in those padded cups has definitely helped the situation, but it's also definitely not fixed it. The only solution I can come up with for that is to add a patch in the crotch. It's actually not sewn up, it's just pinned at the moment, so it'd be an easy thing to do, and that way the whole suit would just sit a little bit higher on me, because if you can't tell, it's a bit low down. But right now my boobs are basically just hanging inside this top bit with absolutely zero support, and the padded cups make it look like my boobs end a lot further down than my tiny chest naturally should, which, I've got to be honest, doesn't give me the best body shape, and I don't like it. I don't like a lot of things about this costume, clearly, but such is life. It's just really uncomfortable. It makes me feel like if I bend over, they're gonna fall out. I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable wearing this to any kind of convention, which the whole point of a Hannah Alexander outfit was it was going to be, when I first started making it, the best costume I made that year. It was going to take the most time, it was going to take the most materials, the most effort, and it still probably will, but also I've learned so much since then. I kind of feel like I could go and do so much better, but I've put so many hours of work into this. Oh, I don't know what to do. So anyway, sewing the padded bra into the top, clearly a fail, which is one of those things, and honestly I'm being very, very negative, so we're going to call it done for today. And thank you so much for coming along on that dramatic little journey. I would really love and appreciate your opinions on this project if you wanted to leave them in the comments down below. Any suggestions you have. Do you think I should remake it? Do you think that I should just give up on this outfit altogether? Because at this point, kind of feeling like that might be the way I'm going to go. Though, to be honest, I'm at a real crossroads here, and I would really appreciate your help in making that decision. Otherwise, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to drop it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to see more, hopefully non-fail costuming videos from me in the future. I will be back next Wednesday, but until then, have a beautiful day, and I will see you next week. Bye!